The air in the marketplace hung thick and heavy. Dust motes danced in the shafts of weak sunlight filtering through canvas awnings. This was a place where history felt tangible and fragile. The scene was set in Dunhuang. The market smelled of dried spices and aged parchment. It was a place where forgotten things sometimes found new owners. A quiet transaction drew the attention of the observer. A merchant sat behind a stall draped in faded crimson cloth. He dealt in rare textiles and ancient curiosities. His eyes held a deep weariness. He was not selling common goods. He presented the object slowly. It was a map made of silk. The material shimmered with an unnatural luster. It was not merely dyed silk. This fabric possessed a strange depth of color. The lines on the map were intricate and faded yet clearly defined. They depicted routes unknown to modern cartography. The seller spoke in a low voice. He described the silk as having traveled far. It hinted at journeys across forgotten lands. The texture of the silk felt cool to the touch. It seemed to absorb the light rather than reflect it. The map itself was a whisper of lost geography. It held a mystery that pulled the observer deep into its silence. The seller's demeanor shifted suddenly. Desperation replaced quiet trade. He pleaded with the observer for sanctuary. He spoke of danger and the need for silence. The map was not just an object. It was a burden that sought protection from those who would misuse it. The observer agreed to help. The journey began immediately. It was a trek away from the bustling market. The landscape quickly transformed into a desolate expanse. The desert stretched out before them. Sand dunes rolled in silent waves under the pale sky. The journey was arduous and slow. Every step required careful attention. The heat pressed down on the travelers. They moved through silent valleys and rocky passes. The silence of the desert was profound. It seemed to amplify every sound of their movement. Finally, they reached the monastery grounds. The architecture stood stark against the emptiness. Ancient walls rose in silent testimony to centuries of devotion. The stone felt cold beneath the touch. It was a place built for solitude and deep contemplation. The artifact was brought before the senior monk. The silence within the prayer hall was absolute. The air felt charged with unspoken scrutiny. The map lay spread upon a simple wooden table. It was a stark contrast to the serene environment. The monks began their questioning. They spoke of authenticity and lineage. They questioned where such a detailed map could have come from. The chief scholar voiced a direct challenge. He asked if the markings matched known historical records. The senior monk showed hesitation. There was a visible conflict in his gaze. He wrestled with the evidence presented. The internal debate was palpable. Was this a genuine relic of ancient travel, or was it a clever fabrication meant to deceive the faithful? The silence stretched taut between doubt and acceptance. The investigators began their search for answers. They focused on the silk map itself. It was a fragile thing. The markings were intricate. They examined the threads closely, searching for hidden codes within the patterns. The silk felt ancient and strangely familiar. Each line seemed to whisper a forgotten journey. They traced the lines of trade routes on the fabric. These were not simple maps. They showed paths rarely traveled. The map hinted at clandestine routes. It suggested knowledge kept hidden from the wider world. They followed a specific geographical marker on the silk. This marker pointed toward the Jade Gate. It was a landmark known only to certain secretive groups. The location felt remote and guarded. Following this clue led them deeper into the dusty terrain. It was a slow journey of deduction and quiet observation. The map was guiding them towards something concealed. The geographical marker led them to a crumbling wall. It was overgrown with tenacious vines. The spot indicated on the silk was precise. It marked a seam in the stone. The investigators searched for any sign of disturbance. Nothing obvious was visible at first. Then they noticed a subtle shift in the stonework. A section of the wall seemed to move slightly. With careful pressure, they uncovered a hidden doorway. It was small and dark. The air inside was still and cold. The silence of the passage was profound. It felt like stepping outside of time. The monks who had guarded this place for centuries were surprised. They found the concealed route unexpectedly open. A sense of awe settled over the group. This secret way led into a forgotten part of the monastery. Inside the hidden chamber lay the true heart of the mystery. Resting on a stone pedestal was an ancient scripture. It was written on brittle parchment. The monks approached with utmost reverence. They recognized the script immediately. It was a text long thought lost to history. The scroll detailed the true purpose of the silk map. It explained its connection to a sacred vow. A specific passage stood out in the text. It spoke of truth hidden beneath illusion. The words resonated deeply with the monks' doubts. They understood then that the map was not a mere artifact. It was a key to understanding profound spiritual truths. The revelation brought a quiet clarity to the room. The monks carefully examined the brittle scroll again. They searched every fold and crevice of the ancient parchment. It was a task requiring immense patience. Deep within a tightly rolled section, they found something unexpected. Tucked beneath the main text was a single fragile letter. It was written on thin, aged paper. The ink had faded, but the script remained clear enough to read. This letter felt like a direct voice from the past. It was a tangible link to the map's true journey. The monks read the words slowly. The letter detailed the map's provenance with startling clarity. It spoke of a transaction centuries ago. It named the merchant who first possessed the silk. The correspondence provided a precise date. It dated the map's movement from a bustling southern port to this quiet sanctuary in Dunhuang. The letter confirmed every suspicion they had held. It was definitive proof of the map's history. The monks laid the silk map beside the ancient scripture. They compared the vibrant depiction of celestial routes on the silk to the established diagrams found in their sacred texts. The lines matched perfectly. It was not merely a drawing. It was a precise map of forgotten celestial alignments. The silk showed pathways that had been considered mythical for generations. This realization shifted everything. It suggested a long-lost tradition was being restored. The map explained how ancient knowledge survived through subtle visual language. It showed that truth is often hidden in plain sight. A profound silence settled over the chamber. The monks felt a collective understanding bloom within them. They saw not just silk and ink, but the continuity of faith across time. The map was a bridge between the ancient world and their present devotion. The decision to secure the artifact was solemn. The monks began the formal dedication ceremony for the recovered knowledge. It was a quiet ritual of respect and gratitude. They placed the silk map and the letter into a specially prepared reliquary. This act symbolized the safeguarding of this vital history. The monks made a solemn commitment to preserve this knowledge for future generations. They vowed that the truth revealed by the map would not be forgotten or misused. A quiet peace settled over the room after the ceremony concluded. It was a moment of deep satisfaction. The legacy of this journey was secured within the walls of the monastery. The silence that followed was not empty. It was filled with the quiet strength of preserved understanding. The journey finally reached a quiet stillness. The monastery stood as a silent sentinel against the vast expanse of the Gobi Desert. The air here carried the dry scent of ancient stone and endless silence. It was a landscape that seemed to hold the memory of every traveler who had passed through it before. The final view from the monastery walls was breathtaking. The sun dipped low, painting the sand in hues of deep ochre and soft rose. It was a quiet farewell to the arduous path taken. The monks stood together, watching the horizon. They did not speak much now. The silence was profound. It held the weight of the entire journey. The silk map rested safely within its reliquary. It was no longer just an object of mystery. It was a tangible piece of history, a bridge between the distant past and their present devotion. The journey itself had stripped away much of the world's noise. What remained was clarity. The significance of this journey settled deep within the hearts of the monks. It was not just about an artifact recovered. It was about the continuity of knowledge. The map had travelled far. It had survived many trials. Its journey mirrored the perseverance required in faith itself. The enduring presence of the silk map in history was now clear to them all. It served as a constant reminder, a testament to the fragility and endurance of truth. The sand whispered beneath their feet. It carried the echoes of the silk map's long voyage. A quiet peace settled over Dunhuang. The journey was complete.